Developing news coming out as over the weekend we have seen chaos erupt across the United States with protests over the mass deportations. And let me go ahead and share with you the latest headlines coming out in the last 48 hours as we saw this unfold. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. This actually is a map of all of the different states that have seen these massive protests that have unfolded. Map shows states where ICE protests are taking place. And this doesn't even capture them all as I've been doing more research here. But take a look. We've got California, Arizona, Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, Georgia, North Carolina. Let's take a look at some of these headlines so that way you can see it for yourself here. Take a look. Anti-ICE protests hold Los Angeles demonstrations. Protesters hold Los Angeles demonstrations. I'm going to share with you the video footage and the articles. Protests in downtown Los Angeles over ICE raids block the 101 freeway. North Texas protests call for an end to ICE raids. Immigration crackdowns prompt weekend protests in Houston and across the country. Demonstrators steal a police car during an anti-deportation protest in Arizona. Residents in Greenville gather to protest mass ICE deportations. Mass deportation protests shut down traffic in Buford Highway. Thousands protest in St. Louis over federal immigration policies. And Northwest Arkansas protests continue as immigration enforcement ramps up. We are seeing this taking place all across the nation. Now, this comes as I also shared with you over the weekend. Take a look at this if you missed it. Cartel authorizes the use of weaponized drones against ICE as well. Now, we had seen a shootout last week at the border, and now we're hearing they're weaponizing drones at the border to go against ICE. The cartel is, and take a look at this. Threats have been made on social media against ICE. Posts suggest ways to end the lives or harm federal ICE agents. Agents have been told to take precautions as we're hearing not only the cartels, but people in the United States are threatening to hurt ICE agents that are trying to do these mass deportations. And take a look. Border Patrol cartels okay drone bombs on agents. They're saying they are arming, weaponizing the drones with bombs to go ahead and take out ICE agents. So, like I said, a lot developing over the weekend. I'm going to be sharing with you the video footage and the articles. You can see it for yourself as we're hearing that chaos has erupted over the weekend throughout cities across the nation, shutting down freeways in protests for the mass deportations of illegal immigrants that have come here to the United States. And this first phase we're hearing is focused on deportating the most heinous crimes committed by these illegal immigrants, criminals, ones with various counts on them. They are shipping them out, but we are seeing mass protests around the United States. So we're going to dive into the articles and the video footage so that way you can see it for yourself and let me know your thoughts on this. Do you still support this, or are you among the protesters? If you still support this, put a yes in the comments. If you don't support this, put a no. If you support Donald Trump's mass deportation, put a yes. If you do not, put a no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But we're hearing that cities around the nation, thousands have gathered, and they're protesting. They're blocking freeways. In Arizona, they stole the cop car. Nothing says that we want to be here and be law-abiding citizens more than stealing a police car. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, while you're dropping those yeses and nos, don't forget, take a second, hit that like button for me, help spread this out further. And also, thank you for hitting the join button, Jason Casper, becoming a member of the community with those monthly contributions. I appreciate that a ton. Not necessary, but greatly appreciated. And as a result, just a thank you, an extra step that I take for those that hit that join button. You're not only going to have every single one of these articles linked in the description, but it's also going to come up in your YouTube feed and the community page for my channel. You'll be able to reference all of these articles because I cite all the sources, put it on the screen, read right from it, so you know that it is the latest. You can see the dates, the sources, and all the information, where it is coming from. I try to cite all the sources just like a book report, so that way you can see it for yourself. And again, if you appreciate that, please take a second, hit that like button. Helps spread this out further across the YouTube platform so more people can get the latest updates. And also, if this is your first time here, hit the subscribe button to stay up to date. It's totally free. Why not? Hit that subscribe button, and I will keep you up to speed on everything. Make sure you're staying subscribed. Some people letting me know that they've been unsubscribed from the channel. We don't know why. One day they're subscribed, the next day they're not. Might have something to do with YouTube settings or something. Just stay subscribed to stay up to date. And in addition to that, extra resources also linked down in the description below as well. If you want to make sure that you are staying up to date on everything, wanting to stock up for things and whatnot. Doing these reports themselves has made me a little bit of a prepper myself. I was not a part of the prepping community before, but now I am, with all the things that are taking place right now around the world. I don't think it's a bad idea just to have a little bit of extra resources stocked up and ready to go. But let's go ahead and take a look at this. I see a lot of people saying yes, they still agree with Donald Trump, and that's what we heard. The vast majority of American citizens agree with the policies that Donald Trump is bringing in regarding our borders, as they are saying, listen, I think it's 88%, if I remember correctly, last when they polled, said they support mass deportation of criminals that have entered into the United States illegally, getting them out to keep America safe. So the vast majority of people support this. Now, the question is, has that changed now that we are seeing this actually take place? The largest deportation of illegal immigrants we have ever seen. We're seeing protests. Do people still approve, or do they not? And so that is why I asked the question, yes or no. And I saw a lot of yeses. I see a couple people saying no. I'm seeing some people say deport them all. But let's go ahead and dive into the video footage in the article so that way you can see it for yourself, as we are hearing that there was massive protests over the weekend. The first 2 days of February, we're hearing that cities around the nation, Los Angeles, Houston, Dallas, Arlington, all kinds of cities have had massive protests regarding what is taking place. So let's go ahead and dive right in and take a look at some video footage to start off.
Welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I'm Andy Mack. I want to take you out now to a developing story in Southern California as protesters have blocked the 101 freeway. Protesters around the immigration crackdown. I want to put this up, a post from the Los Angeles Times reporter Daniel Miller saying downtown LA protest demonstrators are now streaming onto the 101 freeway near City Hall, bringing Sunday afternoon traffic to a standstill. Other protesters are crowding overpasses where they are waving Mexican flags and holding signs. Another post says, you can see just the traffic stop saying, here's our first dispatch from the anti-Trump immigration protests in downtown LA. Thousands of demonstrators have come waving Mexican flags and signs. Some have walked onto the 101 freeway, halting traffic. You can see they're providing an update on this story as well. And you can see the smell of tire smoke hung in the air in the 101 freeway overpass. Trucks and motorcycles did noisy burnouts, drawing cheers and cameras. The vibes of this anti-Trump immigration protest remain positive as a large group of people protesting President Donald Trump's illegal immigration crackdown stormed the 101 freeway in downtown Los Angeles on Sunday, causing major delays for both sides of traffic in the area. The protest began around 9 a.m. There in downtown LA. Around half an hour later, the Los Angeles Police Department declared it, quote, a non-permitted demonstration and advised people to expect traffic delays. The crowd grew to a few thousand people who marched to City Hall before many walked onto the freeway near the Alameda Street exit shortly after noon. Video of the scene showed many carrying U.S. or Mexican flags, signs opposing U.S. immigration and customs enforcement. Police reported at 1:19 p.m. that the demonstration had moved back onto surface streets and opening both north and southbound lanes of the freeway. So you can just see the amount of people there, and you can actually see some people walking through on the highway. And just to show you how much this traffic has been stopped, as it's just about 2 o'clock on the West Coast right now. So we're following this latest story. Plenty of different crackdowns, different operations by ICE in various major metropolitan areas over the last week since President Donald Trump was sworn into office. He ran on immigration heavily and continues to discuss that, writing some executive orders about it as well. So we're following this very closely here on Live Now from Fox from Los Angeles.
There you have it, you guys. So that was some video footage from Los Angeles. And again, this started over the weekend. So we saw this unfolding Saturday, Sunday. And now today we are seeing all the reports of everything that took place. So, man, massive protests. You saw a lot of Mexican flags in these protests in Los Angeles. And also, we are hearing that there was a cop car that was stolen in Arizona. at some of the protests. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at a map here that's going to be breaking down for us where a lot of these protests were taking place, so that way you can see it. Now, let me go ahead and see here. Map shows states where ICE protests are taking place. And let me know, oh, somebody's saying, are you guys hearing me and seeing me okay? If so, drop a 5x5 so that way we can make sure that the message is getting across okay. I saw somebody saying that the sound is low. Let me know if you guys can see me and hear me okay. If so, drop a 5x5. But let's go ahead and take a look at this article here that's going to break down all the different locations. Protests erupted across the country at the weekend with people raising their voices against the Trump administration's mass deportation plans. Thousands of people marched against the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, in the second weekend since President Donald Trump took office, with two largest demonstrations occurring in states that share a border with Mexico, and that would be, I guess, Texas and Arizona, and, well, also California. Let me know your thoughts. And I'm seeing those 5x5s. Thank you for that. Okay, so for those that are having trouble hearing, you might want to just adjust the volumes on your phones. Now, why it matters. Trump made immigration a central theme of his successful presidential campaign, and Americans largely support the mass deportation plans. And this is what we've been hearing. As I mentioned, went ahead and read several polls, and the vast majority of them show the majority of the United States supports what is unfolding here. A New York Times IPSOS poll carried out from January 2nd to the 10th found 55% of the voters strongly or somewhat supported such plans. 88% of supporters supported deporting immigration who are here illegally. 88% supported deporting immigrants who are here illegally that have committed criminal records. And that is the stat that I was sharing with you. The vast majority of people say that if you are a criminal that has entered in here illegally and you're committing crimes, get them out. Large majorities of both Democratic and Republican members agree that immigration system it is currently broken. The president promised to remove 11.7 million undocumented people from the country. While removing undocumented people with criminal records is popular politically, deporting undocumented people who have built businesses and getting rid of birthright citizenship and temporary protected status visas are unpopular strategies for fixing the immigration system. ICE agents have been picking up citizens, including veterans and Native Americans, as a part of their mass deportation raids, showing that the Trump administration is not being selective in who they are trying to deport. Now, what to know? Protests against ICE took place over the weekend in California, Texas, Arizona, Arkansas, Missouri, Georgia, North Carolina. The largest demonstrations over the weekend were in California and in Texas. Thousands of people turned out in Los Angeles on Sunday to protest mass deportation, blocking the 101 freeway downtown. Marchers chanted slogans such as "No one is illegal" and "Si se puede." The Los Angeles Police Department, or the LAPD, declared the demonstrations to be unlawful at around 8 p.m. and started to use non-lethal weapons to break up the crowds. Two protests occurred outside of Dallas City Hall on Sunday afternoon as a part of a national movement, a legalization for all and an end to unjust immigration policies. And another protest happened in Conroe, Texas on Saturday. Demonstrators were marching against several Trump policies, including getting rid of birthright citizenship, which civil rights groups have said is a violation of the 14th Amendment, opening Guantanamo Bay as a holding center for deported individuals and detaining undocumented people with jobs, as opposed to only deporting undocumented people with criminal records. In Arizona City, that borders Mexico declared a state of emergency following Trump's immigration crackdown. Mayor Jose Grilava of Douglas explained that his city relies on migrants for its economy, and without immigrants, the town will need federal funds in order to function. Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, has said that he will construct family facilities to house deported undocumented parents if they are removed from the country with their children, and said the Pope should not speak out against U.S. deportation. Pope Francis has called the practice disgraceful. The protests coincide with the beginning of Trump's trade war against Mexico. The Trump administration has imposed 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian imports. And I also shared this with you over the weekend as well, as we are seeing the trade war begin with the United States, Mexico, Canada, and China. And Canada already snapping back, applying tariffs against the U.S. Now, Reading on, it says, which Trump believes will reduce the flow of fentanyl into the country and right a trade deficit imbalance. Ray Perriman, CEO of financial analysis firm the Perriman Group, told Newsweek in November that tariffs could have a disproportionate effect on Texas due to its links with the Mexican economy and Mexican manufacturing. So here is what people are saying. The Los Angeles protester Sarah Aguilar told CBS, "We're not criminals. We want to work. A lot of people just want to work. We all want to provide. I'm out here to represent for my people. I'm out here to be the voice for the people that have been silenced out of fear." California Senator Alex Padilla, a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee of Immigration and Citizenship and Border Safety, all Americans will feel the impacts of Trump's anti-immigrant agenda, creating chaos and fear in communities across the country, while also driving up costs for businesses and consumers. We can all agree that we need a secure and orderly border. However, these executive actions only further complicate that effort, and many of them violate the rights guaranteed by our Constitution. So make no mistake, it won't be long before a policy of chaos costs the American people. Carolyn Levitz, the White House press secretary, told her followers on social media the largest massive deportation operation in history is underway. Promises made, promises kept. Now, here's what happens next. The Trump administration is being sued by civil rights groups for its attempts to remove birthright citizenship. Further protests are likely as deportations are continuing. So we are hearing that there is likely going to be more spreading, but at this current time, you can see here is a map of states with anti-ICE protests taking place. California, Arizona, Texas, Arkansas, Missouri, Georgia, North Carolina. We saw protests all in these states over the weekend. Now, here's some video footage of some of the protests that took place in Los Angeles so you can see it for yourself. There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And you actually heard them chanting, Donald Trump, you're not welcome here. Let me know your thoughts. Do you welcome Donald Trump into the United States? If so, put a 47 in the comment to support Donald Trump. If no, and you like the policies of the previous administration, put a 46. As we're hearing that a lot of people are saying, or according to the article that we just read, that there are those that don't approve of what is unfolding here. Now, there's massive support, they said, for the deportation of criminals that have entered into the United States illegally, but maybe not those that are just simply undocumented immigrants. Let me know your thoughts. And also, I thought it was very interesting is that in these protests, you can see a lot of them waving these Mexican flags, but this is not the majority of the deportations. Actually, we've heard it has become a minority. Now, in the past, you think of illegal immigration, and you might think of Mexico because it borders the United States, but we're hearing they're coming from all over. South America, Central America, they're coming from other nations, flying over here, taking boats and ships to get here and coming in from all over the nation. And that is why we're hearing there is such major concern right now about protecting our borders, because we don't know who is coming in, what their intentions are, and we want to make sure that we can keep the American people safe. We saw the president approve the Laken-Riley Act. We don't want to see any more incidents unfold like that as well. So Donald Trump trying to do everything he can to keep America safe. So I think that's very interesting as well. And let me know your thoughts on this. I think I had heard somebody mention this, and I thought it was an interesting point. They had said, so you're saying you want to be in the United States, yet you're waving a flag from the country you came from, and you're saying, don't send me back to the country of the flag that I'm currently waving. Just seems a little bit backwards. Somebody had mentioned. Let me know your thoughts if you agree or disagree. And also, don't forget, if you haven't taken a second yet, hit that like button. We are just 7 likes away from 800 likes while we're live. I appreciate that a ton. Now, in addition to that, take a look at this. As I mentioned, protests in downtown Los Angeles over ICE raids block the 101 freeway. So a large crowd gathered in downtown Los Angeles on Sunday yesterday to protest the recent ICE raids and deportations. The gathering closed the 101 freeway for hours. Police declared an unlawful assembly and forced demonstrators to disperse during the day-long event. The protest began on Alvera Street and grew to a few thousand people who marched to City Hall before walking onto the freeways. Now, some protesters sat down in lanes while many others held Mexican flags and signs with phrases such as "Nobody is illegal" and "Viva Mexico." And again, I asked the question, Viva Mexico, yet you're in the United States and you don't want to go back. Let me know if you think that's just a little bit backwards. As they marched along the busy thoroughfare while being closely watched by law enforcement, flags of several other nations were also seen. Now, at times, fireworks were heard bursting above the large crowds while demonstrators leaned out of their car windows and flew their flags and shouted along with the crowd, "Si se puede," which translates, "Yes, you can." The California Highway Patrol Transportation Management Center closed lanes in both directions. Now, as the freeway was blocked, the LAPD reported major gridlock along Spring Street, Main Street, Los Angeles Street, Arcadia Street, and both northbound and southbound lanes of the 101 freeway. Some videos purportedly from the scene showed demonstrators spray painting along the freeway walls, and SkyCal was overhead when a Metro bus was tagged with profanity directed towards ICE. So, again, just let me know your thoughts on this, but I think you're trying to make the point that you are going to be a good law-abiding citizen, contribute to the economy and society and to the U.S. culture, yet you're waving a different nation's flags, spray painting and writing profanity and graffiti on the walls of the freeways, and saying to do horrible things to the ICE agents. Let me know your thoughts, but I don't think that this is necessarily the best thing that you can do for your argument that you're going to be a good law-abiding citizen and stay here. For those individuals, and I know that's not representative of the entire crowd, but I'm just saying for the individuals that are a part of this that are doing that, might want to think about how this is going to be portrayed, the actions that are being taken in these demonstrations. At around 4 p.m., Los Angeles Police Department Central Division officers reported that the protesters, they had converged on the steps of City Hall. Police, along with Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department deputies, worked on crowd control and continuing the flow of traffic in the area. The demonstrators eventually made their way to Main Street Bridge, blocking traffic and creating dense gridlock. Police moved the crowd from the area and blocked the road for both cars and pedestrians. Many of the people said that they gathered to provide a voice to their communities as they were impacted by the new administration's immigration policies. "We're not criminals," said Sarah Aguilar, one of the many in attendance. "We want to work. A lot of people just want to work. We all want to provide. I'm out here to represent for my people, and I'm out here to be a voice for the people that have been silenced out of fear." Just after 8 p.m., 2 hours after declaring unlawful assembly, a large line of police began to move toward a large group of demonstrators. Now, by 8 p.m., the protesters were cleared and the 101 freeway was reopened, according to the Los Angeles Times, citing the California Highway Patrol. The protests came with traffic delays already impacting downtown streets near Crypto.com Arena, many of which were closed for the Grammy Awards on Sunday as well. Later in the day, about 250 people gathered in Pacoima for another rally where police claimed drivers were performing stunts and blocking traffic with their cars. LAPD reported at least one arrest, but it was unclear where and on what charges were applied. According to the Associated Press, there were similar larger rallies in several other Southern California cities, such as Riverside, San Diego as well on Sunday, as well as in Dallas, Texas. So, like I said, this is taking place all over the nation, and let me know your thoughts on this. Now that you're hearing that the way this is being conducted, has your opinion on this changed at all? Do you still support Donald Trump in this mass deportation effort? If yes, put yes. If no, put no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And let me know your thoughts as well. Do you think that these demonstrations are going to be doing a good job at convincing you that they should stay, as we are seeing them do these protests, vocalizing that they want to be members of society in the United States, contribute, have businesses and economies, yet at the same time, we're also seeing them spray painting the freeways, blocking traffic, spray painting profanity and harmful things to be done to ICE, also stealing police cars and Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Like I said, for those individuals that are doing that, I know that's not representative of the entire protesting crowd, but you might want to think about how you're portraying yourself, saying that you're going to be a good contribution to society while you're also stealing police cars, graffitiing, and writing profanity against law enforcement. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below on what you think. But again, if you still support Trump on this, put a yes. If you don't support Trump on this anymore, put a no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, like I said, this has not been isolated to California or Los Angeles over the weekend. We actually saw this all over the nation. Immigration crackdown prompts weekend protests in Houston, Texas, here in my neck of the woods and across the country. And I actually saw video footage on social media as the freeway overpasses, the walkways, people were gathered on the bridges protesting as people were driving by the freeways. Over the weekend, protests took place across the country in response to an immigration crackdown and deportation policies planned by President Donald Trump. In Los Angeles on Sunday, protesters caused a gridlock in the downtown area while carrying signs and waving Mexican flags. Other protests were held in Arizona, North Carolina, Arkansas, Missouri, Georgia, and in Dallas, Texas, Houston, Texas, and Conroe, Texas. 5 people were arrested at the protests in the event in Conroe on Saturday. Now, here is why people are protesting and where protests have happened over the weekend. And there you can see some photos from some of the protests. This one was at Herman Park in Houston, Texas. Here you can see the Mexican flags. Why are people protesting? Well, according to NBC News, after taking office on January 20th, Trump has promoted immigration operations in cities like Chicago and New York, where agents across federal agencies were called in to increase the number of arrests. Now, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE agency, has begun listing the number of arrests and detainers lodged on its Facebook page. On Saturday, there were 864 arrests and 621 detainers lodged according to the information on the page. The most intense protests have occurred in California and Texas along the border and near halls of government, with demonstrations of civil disobedience according to Sunday night Newsweek articles. And here you can see them right here. Demonstrations shut down the 110 freeway during a protest calling for immigration reform on Sunday, February the 2nd, 2025 in Los Angeles. Protests in Los Angeles. According to the Associated Press, thousands of people marched in Southern California on Sunday, including in downtown Los Angeles, where demonstrators blocked a major freeway for several hours. Protesters gathered in the morning on LA's historic Olvera Street, which dates to Spanish and Mexican rule, before marching to City Hall. By the afternoon, marchers had blocked all lanes of the US 101, causing traffic to back up in both directions and on surface streets. The demonstrators sat down in lanes while a cordon of California Highway Patrol officers stood by. It took more than 5 hours for the freeway to fully reopen, CHP Lieutenant Matt Gutierrez said Sunday evening. Protests in Arizona. Glendale, Arizona, police say a patrol vehicle was stolen and driven a short distance during a demonstration Sunday night, according to the Arizona ABC affiliate. The incident happened during a protest against immigration policies near 67th Avenue and Camelback Road. Police say that the vehicle was stolen by one of the attendees and driven a short distance before it was recovered. A protest also took place in Tucson on Sunday as well. Protests in North Carolina. Carrying flags representing several Latin American countries, hundreds of people took to the streets of uptown Charlotte, North Carolina in protest Saturday, according to local news affiliates WCNC. The station reported that it was a peaceful event and no police intervention was needed in North Carolina. Houston area protests. 5 people, one of them a 14-year-old boy, were arrested on Saturday during a protest in downtown Conroe, a situation the city's mayor appears to have erroneously blamed on Houston residents. Many at the protest held signs supporting immigrants' rights and protested the Trump administration's new immigration policies. Mike Hawley, Montgomery County's first assistant director attorney, told the Chronicle Sunday 4 people were arrested in connection with Saturday's protests. However, jail records reviewed Sunday morning showed all of those arrested, according to the DA's office, were from Conroe or Cleveland. A protest also took place in Houston's Irvin Chu Park Sunday. Also, hundreds gathered at Dallas City Hall Sunday afternoon in two protests to rally against arrests and raids by ICE, according to Newsweek. So what happens next? In information from Newsweek, ICE raids and deportations are expected to continue under Trump's administration as immigrant communities, local governments, and advocacy groups brace for the impact of the president's crackdown. Protests across the country are also expected to continue. So this is not the end. We're hearing this is just the beginning. This is going to be increasing. This is the theme for February, it appears, as it started February 1st, Saturday. Then we saw yesterday on the 2nd, and then today on the 3rd, we are hearing that it is going to be continuing on. Now, as I mentioned, demonstrators steal a police car during an anti-deportation protest in Arizona. A police vehicle was stolen by one protester, but no arrest has been made, the cops have said. Demonstrators in Arizona took to the streets to protest against President Donald Trump's mass deportation plan on Sunday, and police say officers were assaulted amid demonstrations. Glendale police confirmed to Fox News Digital that there was a large group of people who gathered to protest of federal immigration policies. A police spokesperson said a police vehicle was stolen by one protester, but no arrests have been made. The demonstrators jumped into one of our patrol vehicles and drove it a short distance before it was quickly recovered, the spokesperson said, adding that the suspect was unknown at the time. And it says traffic was still shut down in all directions in the area of the protests as early as Monday morning. Glendale and Phoenix police were on the scene monitoring the situation, which Glendale police said had begun to fizzle out due to excellent work conducted by Glendale and Phoenix police officers on the scene. Officers deployed chemical agents to disperse the unruly and defiant crowds, the Glendale police spokesperson said. Several officers were assaulted, police vehicles were damaged, and surrounding businesses and personal property were damaged as well, the spokesperson said. Investigators will be looking into the possible crimes at the protests and will work toward identifying the suspects. Anti-deportation protests were held over the weekend in multiple other cities across the country, including Los Angeles, Houston, and Atlanta. This comes amid the Trump administration's mass deportation efforts, with officials admitting that higher deportation numbers is the goal, rather than the removal of violent migrants in the country illegally. So they are just saying, hey, everybody that has entered into the United States illegally, we haven't vetted you, you're going out. Let me know. Do you support that still? If it is not just those that are criminals, but those that have come in illegally, do you still support it? If so, put yes in the comments. If no, put no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officials, they were directed by Trump officials to aggressively increase the numbers of people that they arrest from few hundreds per day to at least 1,200 to 1,500 because the president has been disappointed with the deportation numbers, the Washington Post reported last week. The president also reversed a directive under the Biden administration that had told immigration officials not to make arrests in sensitive areas like schools or churches. So they are saying it does not matter. Do not allow them to hide in schools or churches to try to avoid getting deported. You get them. And I think the exact words that we had heard Donald Trump say, or the Mr. Hammond say, was, we're going to start using common sense. We're not going to use this as they can go run and hide there. We're going to get them. We're going to deport them. Now, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said last week that the administration is seeking the removal of all immigrants in the country that are here illegally, not just those who have committed criminal offenses, and falsely alleged that all migrants accused of being in the U.S. illegally are criminals. Now, reading on, it says, I know the last administration didn't see it that way, so it's a big culture shift in our nation to view someone who breaks our immigration laws as a criminal. But that's exactly what they are, said the press she said in the press briefing, declining to say if all migrants in the United States illegally had criminal records. Maggie, thank you so much for that $2 super chat. I appreciate that a ton. People who cross the border illegally have committed a crime, but simply being in the United States illegally is a civil violation, not a criminal one. Someone could be in the country illegally without breaking laws to enter, such as overstaying a visa. Trump said in his inaugural speech last month that his administration would quickly deport millions and millions of migrants with criminal records, although the number of migrants with criminal records who are in the country without authorization is significantly less than millions, according to Axios. Studies also show that both legal and illegal immigrants commit crimes at lower rates than U.S. citizens. So, I don't know, let me know your thoughts in the comments, but I feel like they're kind of splitting hairs here and saying like, oh, hey, well, not all of them that are here illegally if you're here on visa. And I think that it is, again, a matter of common sense. Let me know your thoughts. I think that the focus here is on those that have entered in illegally, not if you're here on visa and your visa has expired, or trying to bring up some. I think the overall theme is that if people have entered in illegally, that they need to go through a vetted process so we know who is here for the right purposes and we can try to keep America safe. And also, the primary focus is to get out those that are criminals first. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you agree or do you disagree? Do you still feel like you support what Donald Trump is doing, or do you feel like they are raising good points here and things are not being done correctly and things need to change? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And take a look. It's happening all over the nation. As I mentioned, residents in Greenville gathered to protest ICE deportations. Greenville, North Carolina. Now, we had heard, I think they said it was North Carolina, where there was no arrests, there was no criminal charges, nothing was done inappropriately, according to what we last read, I believe. Let's go ahead and see what this article has to say. Controversy surrounding recent ICE deportations drew a crowd of protesters in one eastern Carolina city Saturday. Greenville residents gathered in the town commons to rally for a common cause. Protesters say that they were there to spread one important message: stop deportations. My parents, being Italian, they were deported when I was 14. I keep in contact with them, but I haven't seen them yet, protester Elias Francos said. Some residents say the mass deportations have left them in terror. I was born here. This is all I know. Even having to, in my own home country, feeling like I may need to leave over persecution or violence or just feeling unwanted in general, protester Martin Montenago said. Others have lost personal friends. My drummer actually has been recently deported. He got sent to Uganda. We've got a lawyer that we're talking to try to get him back, Franco said, and it's devastated the communities. David Jones, thank you for the $2 super chat. Imagine to attend a protest just to get deported. That was one of the thoughts that I had, Dave, as well, was I was thinking, you know what? If ICE wanted, they should actually allow the protests, show up at the protests, and they could probably get a lot of the people that they wanted at the protests. If the protesters were actually, that is, if the individuals that are here illegally were actually, you know, not that intelligent and actually out there, ICE could go get them right there. You know, I would imagine that if you were one of the people on the lists or whatever, you probably wouldn't go out and do that. But who knows? I mean, some of these people are also actually out there at the protests committing crimes. So there's a possibility that some of the individuals in these groups are not too bright. Maybe ICE could actually just go to the protests and just start taking people from the protests. Nelly Girl, thank you for the $5 super chat. I appreciate that a ton. Other protesters say that it isn't normal living in fear or having your family ripped apart. You don't want to be a child leaving to go to school and you come back and your parents aren't there, said protester Jessica Guerrero. Now, while at the scene, some protesters were yelling obscenities. It says, while at the scene, some protesters were yelled obscenities from people driving by in cars. However, protesters say they plan to continue rallying and fighting for change. And again, just another article reiterating that this is just the beginning. There's going to be more of these, and likely in more states and cities as well. Mass deportation protests shut down traffic in Buford Highway. This one is in Georgia. Emotions ran high in Chamblee on Saturday as hundreds of people took to the streets to support immigrants' rights and to protest against mass deportations. Now, Georgia, anti-ICE, anti-deportation protests. Here's what we know. The demonstrations, which began as a small gathering on Saturday noon, grew significantly, leading to traffic disruptions. And it says protesters blocked portions of Buford Highway as they marched to another location further down the road, continuing their message of unity. At one point, the group blocked the entrance near Plaza Fiesta, before the police moved them off of the road. And here you can see somebody posting on X what took place there. And again, all of this happening over the weekend. The protest was a response to the wave of Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, arrests throughout the country that began on January 26 after President Donald Trump signed a number of executive orders geared toward beefing up security at the southern border. Many of the ICE raids, they have taken place in major cities, targeting those accused of crimes involving various things. So far, 7,400 undocumented immigrants have been detained nationwide. One of the most notable ICE arrests to come out of the metro Atlanta area was a man arrested during a church service in Tucker. Joseph Pastor, one of the event's organizers, expressed the fear and anxiety felt by many in their communities. We are basically being hunted down by ICE, and we live in fear. We are here because we don't want everyone to live in fear, so we're going to speak out, the pastor said. Natalie Villasana, an organizer with the Party of Socialism and Liberation, highlighted the importance of community solidarity. Thank you for the $5 super chat, Gorilla Barber. With all that is going on in the world, when will nonviolent felons be allowed, or at least figure out? Restoration of 2A needs to be on the agenda. Thank you for that, Gorilla. I appreciate that a ton, and we shall see. Now, we're here to unite. We're here to say we won't sit by when any members of our community are attacked. People of all backgrounds need to get together and fight back and build a mass movement to fight for our rights, Vilasiana said. An attack on immigrants, an attack on one part of the community, is an attack on the entire working class. Attendees said the protest that started off peacefully took a slight turn at the sight of law enforcement. It was just full of energy. People were full of life, the attendee Meredith Yoon told Fox 5. We were on our way out and someone was like, oh, there are people here in riot gear. Arrests at Georgia mass deportation rally. And the other side, meanwhile, more than 50 officers representing multiple agencies, including Chamblee, Brookhaven, and DeKalb County police departments, as well as the Georgia State Patrol, reported to the area to try and disperse the crowd throughout the day. Chamblee police confirmed they arrested 2 individuals, Ashley Rodriguez for obstruction of law enforcement officers and Jesus Fernandez for laying drag. 2 additional people were arrested by state troopers as well for reckless driving and attempting to elude police officers, and an unidentified second suspect. Crystal Alvarado, a protester, Fox 5 and friends said that she was one of those taken into custody. She said she didn't believe the arrests were warranted. The protests was perfectly fine until they started to kick us out. That's when people started throwing drinks at the cops, doing more burnouts, she stated. I feel we as American citizens have the right to ask questions. My friend was just asking, what's going on? Why are y'all doing this? Organizers plan to continue speaking out against the recent arrests and rely on each other for support. I am glad that everyone's here to show their support, and they're showing their culture with pride, Pastor said, expressing the gratitude for the community's solidarity. It just feels like we're all family. We're all going to support each other because no one wants to support us, he said. So as you can see, this also taking place in Georgia. And as I mentioned, other cities as well. Missouri, protests took place in Missouri. Thousands of protests in Missouri on federal immigration policies. A protest in downtown St. Louis as federal funding delays forced the International Institute of St. Louis to furlough over 60% of its staff statewide. The protest, which saw 1,000 participants, was in response to the recent actions by the Trump administration to suspend numerous immigration initiatives, including refugee resettlement programs. The furloughs, they have significantly impacted not only the employees, but also the families who rely on the Institute's services. So you can see it's also having other effects as well in St. Louis and also Arkansas. Demonstrators in Springsdale push back against stricter immigration policies as the Trump administration moves forward with its mass deportation promises. Donald Trump moving forward with what he promised on these deportations. This weekend, President Donald Trump and his administration are moving forward with a plan to crack down on illegal immigration. At the same time, some people in our area are joining forces against the new administration. For the second week in a row, Demonstrators took to the streets in northwest Arkansas to protest the Trump administration's immigration policies. I'm also signing an executive order to instruct the Department of Defense and Homeland Security to begin preparing the 30,000-person migrant facility in Guantanamo Bay, Trump announced last week. As stricter immigration policies take effect nationwide, residents in northwest Arkansas continue to voice their opposition. My parents fought for my future, said Kimberly Perez, a protester from Springsdale. They came to this country and left everything behind, their families, everything. They crossed the border and gave us the best life that they could. Now it's our turn to fight for them. Last week, the Trump administration's eliminated restrictions on where immigration arrests can take place, moving forward with plans for mass deportations. I wouldn't feel comfortable if I were in Switzerland illegally, said Tom Hammond, acting director of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So we're going to enforce the law of this country. Schools, churches, those so-called sensitive locations, that was only an ICE policy. But national security threats and public safety threats have no safe haven in the country. We'll go where we have to go, he said. Move that video off of there. Protesters said they strongly oppose arrests in sensitive areas. You're separating families. Our kids are scared to go to school, Perez said. That's not what they should be focused on. They should be focused on their education, not worrying if ICE is going to show up at their schools. We're already on stolen land to begin with, said Tanner Little, a protester from Missouri. At the end of the day, we're all equal. No one should be above the law, and we all bleed red. Demonstrators said they will continue protesting as long as the new immigration policies remain in place. So yet another state where we're seeing this take place all over the nation. Protests are taking place. And let me know your thoughts on this. Do you still support this? If so, put yes. If you don't support it, put no. Now that we've gotten information from all of the states that have had protests over the past 48 hours, this has been erupting over the weekend since we entered into the month of February. Let me know your thoughts on this. Do you still support it? If you think so, put yes. If you think no, put no. And also do me a favor, hit the like button if you just appreciate the updates, giving you the updates as to what is going on with everything taking place right now. And I'm seeing yeses pouring in. People are still saying, yes, we support this. My buddy Aaron Marshall is on saying, yes, I still support this. And I saw a lot of people saying, again, just food for thought, just a question here. I saw people vocalizing this. So you want to be in the United States. So you're going out and taking the flag of the nation you came from, saying, I don't want to go back to this nation, but viva this nation. And then going on the freeways, blocking traffic, which I think is a major issue. If you want to, this is just my opinion, if you want to vocalize your disapproval for something and exercise your right to protest and your freedom of speech, that's totally fine, but I don't think that you should be blocking traffic, disrupting other people's lives. You can make your opinion heard without causing chaos for the entire city. You have no idea who might need an ambulance to go through, a fire thing to go through, or if someone's kids need to be picked up, or if there's an emergency situation. Then also writing graffiti on the freeway walls, writing explicit, vulgar comments about ICE and our law enforcement, stealing cop cars. Things like this are not a good argument for your cause. While you are protesting and vocalizing how you should be here, you probably shouldn't be doing illegal things. Just my personal opinion. Let me know your thoughts. And also, if you want to be here, maybe you should be waving American flags. And then saying, Donald Trump, we don't want you here. Also, the vast majority, an overwhelming amount of people through our legal process of voting for the president said they want him in power. So you vocalizing that is also further isolating you from the U.S. So I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Now, I do feel like I can agree with the thought, the perspective that, hey, our immigration policy or whatever, our asylum, it needs to be refined. We need to do a better job. But I think the first thing that we need to do is secure our borders and make sure that we are safe. And I think that what Donald Trump is doing is just the first step, the first phase of what we need to totally reform the entire system. So I don't think that this is bad at all, but that's just my thoughts. And there's some people that are saying, hey, like my parents came here, they just wanted a better life. They're not criminals. Well, I also feel like, I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Should they be here just because they want a better life, even though they came in illegally? Do you think that they should be permitted to do so if they're good people, or do you think they should go through the vetted process? Let me know your thoughts. Let me ask you this question. If somebody is living in an area where they feel like they've got a small, dilapidated house, and they see a gated community, and there happens to be an open home that's vacant, should they be able to just climb into the gated community and go live in that house because it's vacant? And then when they're being evicted from that house because they didn't go through the proper means of being able to inhabit it, then they say, well, we should have the right to stay here because we were just seeking a better life for ourselves. Let me know. Do you think that that analogy is applicable? And do you think it is right for them to go ahead and do that just because they want a better life? Maybe the cause is good, but the process they went through might be wrong. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Now, in addition to that, we are also hearing that ICE is under a lot of pressure and strain right now. As take a look at this, I shared this with you over the weekend as well. The cartels have authorized the use of weaponized drones against ICE agents. This article says, and there have been major threats against them, not just from the cartels, but we're hearing warnings coming out from also social media. People are threatening to do harm to ICE. Cartels have authorized the use of weaponized drones, explosives, against border agents and other U.S. law enforcement at the southern border as violent threats are escalating on social media, with some promising to use deadly force against ICE agents. Now, U.S. Customs and Borders Protection is taking the threats very seriously, enough to circulate 2 memos among agents and officers within the agency. Copies of the memos were obtained by News Nation. One of the communication references 3 different social media posts that include threats. One post encourages people to assassinate ICE police, while a TikTok video tells immigrants illegally in the United States to spit and urinate on ICE agents' food and defecate in their vehicles. Another post calls for the ending of local ICE agents' lives. A second memo warns that cartels have authorized the use of drone explosives against CBP personnel and U.S. law enforcement officers. Border Czar Tom Homan told News Nation this week that leaked information about targeted operations has forced authorities to pivot to keep officers and agents safe. Now, we've got many targeted cities, but I'm not going to share them with you because we've got to keep our officers safe, Homan said. Matter of fact, Chicago, that operation was leaked, so we had to reschedule that one. But we need an element of surprise because of officer safety issues. We don't want the bad guys to know that we're coming, he added. Agents are reminded to be cognizant of their surroundings and should be wearing their ballistic armor and utilizing their long firearms. Maryland Representative Glenn Ivey, a member of the House Homeland Security Committee, told News Nation that weaponized drones have become more common in warfare, so it's not surprising that cartels may be poised to use them at the U.S. borders. So if you support what's going on, you support Donald Trump, and you believe that this is a good thing that is unfolding, you might want to say a prayer for our ICE agents that are currently operating at the border, as there are various threats for them across the board. And you can see here in another article coming out, again verifying that the cartels, they have okayed drone bombs being used on agents. Violence is growing along the Rio Grande Valley, where Mexican drug cartels are threatening to use drones to drop bombs on U.S. Border Patrol agents, according to the U.S. Border Patrol memo obtained by Newsmax. This is a major increase in threat to the United States, and it's specifically in the southern region where we've been talking about recently, where we've had a lot of gun battles between the U.S. Border Patrol and the Cartel del Noroeste near Fronton, Texas, the Newsmax Jason Jones reported. The memo from the Border Patrol's Rio Grande Valley sector, dated Thursday, urges personnel to take all precautions and states that the cartels, they have authorized the use of weaponized drones explosives being used against the Border Patrol and U.S. law enforcement officers. The memo comes as the U.S. State Department issued a level 4 warning for all government personnel and U.S. citizens to not travel to the Mexican state of Tamaulipas, which is separated from Texas by the Rio Grande, Jones noted. The travel warning has listed on the website for the U.S. Embassy and the consulate in Mexico on Monday, the day the gunfire was reported. It lists not only that city with a do not travel. It lists only that city with a do not travel distinction. The order states that this city issued a warning that people must avoid moving or touching IEDs, which have been found along roads and in areas of other cities as well, including Reynosa, Rio Bravo, Valle Hermosa, and San Fernando. As a precaution, U.S. government employees have been ordered to avoid all travel in and around Reynosa and Rio Bravo outside of daylight hours and to avoid dirt roads throughout the cities, the warning stated. Here's what's happening, Jones said. Here's what's happening. Cartel del Golfo and Cartel del Noreste, two of the major factions down there, have been fighting for a very long period of time and have been setting up improvised explosive devices in the ground on these little back roads where most of the cartel operations happen, where they battle one another. The cartels usually use Tovex, a readily available mining explosive for IEDs, said Jones. They've been using this kind of explosive going back to 2010. The reason is because you can get it all over. They use it to make the roads. They use it for mining. Jones referred to the situation as involving major changes and said that the President Donald Trump's executive order designating the Mexican cartels as terrorist organizations couldn't have come at a better time. So, man, there you have it. More threats. And Magalorian says, if you have open borders, you become a third world. And thank you for that $2 super chat, Magalorian. That is the policies that we had seen from the Biden administration for the past 4 years, essentially having open borders, people pouring in, and now we're seeing Donald Trump doing a full 180, complete opposite, polar opposite policies for the United States. And again, let me know your thoughts. Do you agree with what is unfolding? If you do, after I've shared all this information with you, drop a 47 in the comments for Donald Trump's policies on the borders. If you do not agree and you feel like it should go back to how it was with the Biden administration with a complete polar opposite, put a 46. Let me know your thoughts. On one hand, you have Donald Trump, 47, saying secure the borders, close it off, deport those that are here illegally, deport those those that are here that have committed crimes that are here illegally. And in addition to that, we are now going to make sure that we vet everybody coming in. We're going to change the border policies and make sure that we can try to keep Americans safe from anybody coming in who we don't know the purpose of why they are here. Yet on the other hand, we had the Biden administration that had said, no, open border policy, let people come in, anybody that's seeking asylum. In fact, we're going to create an app to make it easier for people to come in. All they have to do is download the app, apply, catch and release. We catch them, we get their information, we let them back into the United States, letting millions upon millions of people enter the U.S. over the past 4 years, several of which we heard were catch and release that were on the watch list, on the FBI watch list for people of interest that want to cause harm to the United States. And that is the main purpose why we're seeing these policy shifts with the Trump administration, is because they are saying, listen, we need to vet these individuals. We can't have people that are literally on the watch list for the United States coming into this nation that want to do physical attacks, cyber attacks, and cause harm, create sleeper cells, do all of these things, and commit violent acts, the most heinous crimes against the innocent, the elderly, against the young. We have got to keep our people safe. The American people need to feel a sense of the leadership is thinking about them first and is going to keep them safe. That is what the Trump administration is pushing. So again, 47, if you like the policies of Donald Trump. 46, if you like the policies of the Biden administration. Let me know your thoughts. And Peggy, welcome to the Ram Fam. Thank you for hitting that join button, becoming a member of the community, supporting. I appreciate that a ton. Like I said, as a result, not only will these articles pop up in the description for you, because I cite all the sources, but just as a little extra thank you, they'll also pop up in your community feed right after the live stream. So I see comments coming in. I see 47s and yeses coming in, still supporting what is going on. I see, just lots of 47s. People saying they support the policies. I Love Yeshua is saying like and share. Thank you for that. I appreciate that support. But that is the latest going on, you guys, over the weekend. Massive, massive amounts of protests taking place in cities around the nation. And we're going to be seeing what unfolds here, because they're saying this is not going to stop. This is only going to increase. This is just the beginning, is what they're saying, with all that is unfolding. So I will continue to keep you guys up to date on this, let you know exactly what is going on, cite all the sources, put it on the screen, read right from it so you can see it for yourself. And again, if you appreciate that, do me a favor, take a second, if you haven't done so yet, hit that like button. Hit that like button. Somebody's saying, Steve, what happens in the red room? I'm not sure what you're referring to there. Let me know. Also, subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free, and I will keep you guys up to speed on everything. So stay tuned to the channel. I believe that there's a lot more coming out that I'm going to be reporting on likely later on today. I will keep you up to speed, and if you missed it, check out the previous uploads that I did. Also, planes falling out of the sky. If you missed it, check out the updates I did. We had one in Washington, D.C., one I think it was in Philadelphia, if I remember correctly. Planes just crashing, dropping out of the sky. And here in Houston, yesterday as well, I think while I was at church, I saw, after we got out, a news report coming out that the planes, as it was trying to take off, lit on fire. So a lot of stuff going on with the planes. But I'll keep you guys up to speed on everything. And also tariff wars have officially started with the U.S., Canada, Mexico, and China. But like I said, hit that like button, subscribe to stay up to date. It's totally free. Thank you for all the support, you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless.